Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
All right, Matthew, this is your subject. Do you want to introduce it?
I would rather keep my subjects. Sorry, I'm going to switch to Do Not Disturb on my phone so we don't get disturbed. I'd rather not my subjects not know you in this subject. I'm not going to introduce you, no. What I wanted to talk about was friendship, because this podcast never talked about friendship. I mean, theoretically, you did the first time when your imaginary friend was on, so I assume as an actor you hired to pretend to be Adam. So imaginary friendships don't count. No, and also Adam's been your friend for a long time, and I want to talk about friendship as an adult, like compare and contrast maybe those friends from childhood versus friends you meet as an adult, and what the relationship is different, especially as I age and I've had some heavy friendship moments in the last couple of weeks. So
So anybody who hasn't listened to the very first episode of the podcast, my friend Adam and I talked about friendship.
Yeah.
He exists. You can listen to the episode. His name is on this company.
You know what? I was watching Invincible, the cartoon, and you can hear him, but it doesn't mean he exists.
Nice. All right. So we talked about friendship, and we kind of did talk about kid friendship versus adult friendship, because we met when I was 23 and he was 20. So it was like he's my first friend that I made as an adult that has kind of been around the whole time, basically. So like we kind of covered this subject, but it's also been 2.5 years.
I started listening with the second episode when you had a good guest.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and then you became the co-host. And Adam is welcome to come back on. I don't know why I'm saying it onto the podcast.
He's never going to hear it.
He doesn't hear the podcast. I'm sure I texted him a month ago, and I asked him about something, and I was like, "Did you check that?" And he goes, "I get all your emails. I open them all so that you get credit for having them been opened, and then I don't read them." I'm like, I mean, thanks.
He's been very busy because he's with my girlfriend from Canada. You wouldn't know her.
She went to a different country, but it might be this country soon enough. All right, so you want to talk about friendship, and I think that Adam and I, even though we kind of thought we've been friends mostly adulthood, I don't know that I consider 20 and 23 adults anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say that's almost kid friend.
Yeah, So go ahead. You keep introducing the.
No, that's better. I mean, I think there's a lot of places we can go, because if we're talking our personal experiences, there's different anecdotes we'll have in different situations we have. There's one or two that I do want to touch on, but I don't necessarily want to start there. So
okay, yeah.
So why don't we start with our friendship, because that's an interesting little story which we've touched on here and there, but we've never talked about. So one of the things that I think about sometimes is friends versus acquaintances. Like work friends are really acquaintances for a large part, because most of them, even the ones you consider friends at work, you never talk to if you leave that company. Like maybe once in a while a social media message or a text if there's a joke, but they're not. You don't go out of your way to hang out with most of them. So the ones you do, those are your friends.
Yeah,
and so I worked with a lot of people. There's only one that I do a podcast with.
Yeah. And I, having left my job almost 6 weeks ago, it kind of reiterated for me that point that you've made, because obviously I worked with Alex before he was on the podcast, and I worked with you, but I also had like other friends. I had other people that I was friendly with at work that I considered friends, and now that I'm gone, I get to see like. There's been a few that have reached out several times, have talked about hanging out as a group. And then there's been a couple where even like the day that I left and was like, hey, just so you know, today was my last day, I've heard jack shit from. And I think partly that's like young people being like, I can't side against the company, but I also think that there's a little bit of just like, oh yeah, we apparently, even though I thought we were friends, we are not friends. So yeah,
I mean, and I had the weird experience of coming back to a company that I left, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And, and there's one guy in my group, there's a couple people I've seen. So I'm like, hey, buddy, we're I kind of, cool and stuff. There's one guy in my group who was in my old department who we were friends, that we didn't do anything after work or outside of work, but we were friends at work. And as soon as we were back together, we're like, boom, we have a closer bond than anyone else. He's been in the department a year. I'm closer with him than anyone else, he's been with that year. Like, people are surprised by our friendship at work because he's not an effusive person who creates friendships. But I'm like, but I pretty much know that we're not going to talk. Like, the only time I talked to him after I left was there was a job opening, and I got him to apply for it at my old company because, he had left the company at the same time I did. So I know he was unemployed. But other than trying to get him a job, like, we didn't hang. We don't hang now. We just talk a lot at work.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
So he's a good work acquaintance.
Yeah. I also think you and I are interesting in the fact that, like, especially since I met Sarah, I don't like have social things where I meet new people other than work. Like, you're in TFS and you've done improv and all these other things outside of work and outside your like family, that things where you would meet new people. And I don't have those. I mean, obviously I could, but like,
you come to TFS eventually, just stay quiet in the back with the camera.
Are you just going based on what I've done in the past, or did someone talk about that from this past
No,
Saturday?
No, that's just based on the past.
When I texted you, by the way, to mess with you, I assumed that you had heard that it went fine. That's why I was like, I'll just like fuck with them, and I'll be like, I heard you were already.
I just looked back and said, "Oh, so you're free Saturday. Here's this thing Saturday." I said, "Okay."
Yeah. So,
for those who don't know, videoed a presentation that my organization did that I was not able to attend on Saturday, and then on Saturday night texted me saying, "It's tomorrow, right?"
Yeah. Yep. It was a great presentation, by the way. And I don't know what you're going to do with it. You usually put it up on the TFS YouTube or something, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Great.
great.
If you have access to on the TFS YouTube, you can just upload it, and I'll go and do the metadata after.
Yeah, that's what I'll probably do. I'll probably edit it tomorrow, but it was really good. And I'm just not great in certain social situations, so that's why I kind of like certain social situations I'm fine. When I know half the people, I'm good at introducing myself to the other half. When I know one person or less of a group of 10 or more, I'm like, I'm gonna stay in the corner.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an introvert that people don't know that about me, because I'm extroverted if I'm on stage, then I'm in character, going. But like in most group settings, I pick a person and sit and talk to them the whole night. I don't go around and work the room.
Yep. Yeah. And I have the other issue, which is that I'm not pushy, and I was like raised to not interrupt. So like, if like the speaker on Saturday, for example, I waited until every single person was done speaking with her to tell them to tell them that I thought their presentation was good, and to talk to them for a few minutes. And I literally stood there with all my equipment, waiting my turn, because I wouldn't be like, "Hey, just so you know, I thought it was great. I'll,
Well, hopefully, all those people were buying books and no, that book. They don't have a book. It's the next.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm confused. The next person we have coming is an author, and
that was mentioned. Yeah,
we're purchasing a lot of books, and we're hoping people come and buy all the books.
Yeah, and I'll be at that one too.
And I won't be, because it's my wife's birthday party.
Ah.
We're going out for dinner. I mean, with a couple people.
Yeah.
Planning has not been great between my professional life and my personal life.
Yeah, it's okay. You're getting it done, right? So that's all that matters. Yeah. By the way, when you had asked me to do that thing the other day, you mentioned that their name was Cat Grant.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, that name sounds familiar. That name sounds familiar. And I figured it out because I Googled Cat Grant at one point because I'm like,
the spell it with a C comes up with Supergirl and Superman references.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's why it sounds familiar. It's Callista Flockhart.
Yeah.
and the like one that I thought was hot when I was a little kid from
Lois
and Clark.
Yeah.
But when I rewatched the pilot episode with Logan a few weeks ago, I'm like, oh, that's a very specific style of a specific era.
Yeah.
She's not an unattractive woman, but like very like tiger skin, like.
Yeah, but it's also she's the woman who's like dressing for 10 years younger than she was to remain hot, hip. Like part of the character is kind of this, she's part of, the super hot hip scene, but she's a professional who's been in a career for a long time. So she's a little older than the scene that she's being, hot for.
Yeah.
But she's intensely hot anyway. The actress is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a redhead. She's your type.
Yeah, that's true. You know what else is my type? All women. I remember one time I was driving my mom somewhere and Young Money's song "Every Girl in the World" came on, and I was like singing along, kind of half aware of what I was, just not paying attention. And the song goes, "I wish I could fuck every girl in the world," and my mom was like, "I certainly hope not." And I was like, "No, not blood relatives." But anyway.
Well, they all are if you go back far enough.
True. All right. Friendship.
So let me jump into the meat of why friendship has been on my mind. Losing friends has been on my mind recently. Now, there's different ways to lose friends. Like I cut ties with people because they were vehemently pro-Trump and pro-Trump for the worst reasons.
Yeah.
Like where I said something when Trump was first elected the first time about, I'm not worried for me. I'm worried for my trans friends, my gay friends, my black friends, my, immigrant friends,
huddled mass friends.
It was a list of all these, different marginalized communities that were in danger. And a childhood friend of mine whom I was in his wedding party, wrote back saying, you're with them all caps question mark. And something about the way that I read it in my head, I didn't even want to know which of them he was asking about. Just like whether it was one of the groups or all the groups, or if he just meant with the Democrats. I don't know what he meant, but I was just like, unfriend on Facebook, take him out of, block him on my phone. It's like it was gone to me. I don't even want an explanation of this.
This must have been before the pronoun shit became so ridiculous on the right. Because if I don't even know that that a right winger would use them in that context anymore because of, especially not all caps.
Yeah, it was a plural at that point.
Yeah.
But so there's that way to lose friends. There's this slow just attrition of, I haven't spoken to, Sid. And I was talking to my friend Howard for his birthday, and he's like, "You've talked to Sid?" I'm like, God, I can't remember the last time we interacted. It's been years. And then he goes, "Yeah, he's gone real MAGA." I said, "What? How did that happen?" That's not, what? When? What? And like, I just realized that we just kind of drifted apart, and I don't even know what happened to him. And now I don't really care.
Yeah.
And then there's my best friend Mikey, who I mention all the time. He's real. You've met him. And
I was just about to say, unfortunately, I can't pull this bullshit on you.
Yeah. And he, years ago, there was one time, he's a big guy and a strong guy and a healthy guy. And we were once setting up for a comedy show, and he was rivets of sweat after like helping bring the flats down and set him up, which is not the norm for him. And he was a little off during the show that night. And the next day he went to the Wake County Technical College campus because he was going back to school. And so on Sunday he went to walk the campus so he'd know where he was going on Monday, because he's that kind of guy who wants to make sure he does everything right. And he got winded going from his car to the first building, and he could barely stand. So his wife said, "You probably have walking pneumonia," and sent him to the doctor, like the next day or whatever. And he went to the doctor, and the doctor decided he needed to go to the hospital, and he went to the hospital and and long story short, we get through all the things he did. The amount of pulmonary embolisms they found in his lungs, they described it as an autopsy finding. Because nobody walks in with that many embolisms. That's what we find as the cause of death.
Yeah.
So many that they had, one day a doctor comes into the room and introduces themselves as an oncologist. And he's like, why do I have an oncologist? And they said, oh, well, didn't they tell you we think you have lung cancer? It's like, what? And the reason they did was there were so many embolisms clustered in one spot, it looked like a tumor. Like the blood thinners started to break it up, and that's when they realized, oh, it was just embolisms. That's insane that you have that many in one spot. So we went through. I sat went there every day, hung out with him, sat by his bedside with the thought of I may lose my friend in the most permanent of ways while we're here, and didn't. He pulled through. Was on blood thinners the rest of his life. But then a couple of weeks ago, I got a text. Oh, actually, my daughter comes down. It says, I just got a text from Ricochet Rita. And Uncle Mikey's in the hospital. He's in the ER. So I grabbed my crap together to go see him in the ER. Then I got a text saying, don't come yet. He's in the middle of getting a transfusion. And it's finally evening before he got a room. And I was told, okay, you can't come back in the ER anyway, but he has a room now. Come see him. So went and spent the evening by his side, and he's doing well. He's back home, but there was that moment of, wow, once again, I may lose my best friend in the most permanent of ways.
Yeah.
And
if you don't mind me asking, how long ago was the first thing, the embolisms?
That had to be more than 10 years ago.
Okay. I'm just curious because I know it's weird. These things can happen where you're like, you shouldn't, like, nobody comes in with this, and then you live 10 years. Or Sarah's grandfather, for example, had I forget, some kind of bypass or surgery in like the year after Sarah was born, or the year before Sarah was born. I'm forgetting which. And they were like, yeah, this should get you another 10 to 20. And Sarah's 35. Yeah. Or no, Sarah's 36. Like, so, like, I'm always amazed at these things where, science has allowed us to.
Once he was diagnosed, I mean, and it turns out he has a genetic predisposition towards embolisms and DVTs, deep vein thrombosis. And he was aware of that, but he was already like in, 50 or whatever in his early 50s and had never had a problem. So he assumed it skipped him. Like he potentially had the genetic disposition. He assumed he didn't because he never had a problem. Right. So it's more like a surprise that it took that long before he had an issue and found out. So he's, blood thinners for the rest of his life and maybe some other meds, and meds may be the problem he had this time around. He had some side effects from some medicines that led to problems and led to some blood tests. And they looked at his blood test and said, wow, your hemoglobin is really low. We think you have internal bleeding. You should go to the hospital now.
Yeah.
And part of that was blood thinners, making him not clot. So maybe something minor so taking him off the blood thinners was a big part of that treatment. But he had a couple other things. It was a kind of a perfect storm of a couple things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not really in danger from the embolisms, I don't think, so much anymore because he is on medication for it. So
right.
Good. But you know what? We can get into more detail about this. How about next week? I get Mikey to come on and we can talk about what it's like from his side of the hospital bed to have 2 times, in his life at this point so far, going to a hospital, not knowing if you'll come out.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a good topic for next week. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be our tease for next week. We'll get Mike on. I've been talking to him about coming on for a year now, and he's like, I've got a topic. What am I going to talk about? That one's a good to talk about.
Talk about death.
And I did have permission from Mike to talk about his medical visits this time around. So
yeah. The idea of losing a friend, and I mean, it's amazing to some extent that I'm 40, and I'm as far as I'm aware, not a single person in my graduating class from high school has died yet. But I haven't lost a friend at all, which I'm not superstitious, but
yeah,
knock on wood. I'll probably be the first one out.
So,
but like it is weird.
Sitting on a bench, and one of them is saying, "I hate being old," I said, what do you hate being old for? He goes, my kidneys aren't any good. I need the dialysis, and my pancreas is bad. I need the insulin. It's like I can't see, I can't hear. I'm falling apart. I hate being old. And the other goes, Schwartz, I'm 10 years older than you, and I'm healthy like a horse. I get up in the morning, I pee for 2 minutes in the toilet. It's great. I eat a big breakfast. I have a great day. My eyes are so sharp. I can see, you see that tree? I can see a knothole on that tree. I can see a bug crawling across the knothole on the tree. That's how good my eyes are. My ears, I hear the robin chirping 20 feet away. I can hear a robin singing a song in its nest. And my mind is sharp like a tack. Who's there?
Nice.
So my dad's my late father's late friend, Roger, who is one of the best bench players in the world. He's in the Bluegrass Banjo Hall of Fame. He had told me that joke when I was like 15 or 16. And then every time he'd be on stage and he'd catch my eye in the audience when someone else was taking a break, he would lightly rap on his banjo and then look up in the air like, who's there? And then go back to playing just to crack me up in the audience.
Nice. So I've talked to you a little bit about it, but my mom, her mother died at almost 47. So like my mom is 60 something. And for a long time, people have been like, oh, people her age will say stuff about getting old, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, it beats the alternative.
Yeah.
Because, she lost her
mom. She's in bonus years as far as what she was afraid of. Yeah.
Yeah. She has a kid almost as old as her mother was. Like that's,
Yeah.
And so like the idea of like losing somebody in their 40s, like now that I'm in my 40s, it's like, okay, this is starting to become like, eventually it's inevitable. And I feel like, you get closer and closer to inevitable. And so you're,
Well, I'm at the age where it's my parents' friends left and right. My mother's best friend, Judy, passed away recently. Right after my dad died, one of the other guys in his band, Drew, died. It's just happening. The extended deaths are happening.
But you're at an age where it's not surprising when someone your age does it either. I mean, I'm starting to get to that age where it's not surprising when someone my age dies either.
Yeah. You said none of your classmates have died to the best of your knowledge. One of mine did, but she died like really young, like maybe in her 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And it was someone I was tangentially friends with. We had class together a couple of times. We weren't super friends. I think she had a chronic disease that was, and she was, I think, a writer. Like online, there was I found like things about her and about her death. Like she had fans. Like she had been a published writer and she had fans. There were fan pages about her death and stuff.
Oh yeah,
kind of weird. I had a coworker who took their own life when I was in my late 20s. Was a little younger than me. That was a shocking one.
Yeah. I haven't had any friend. Oh no, the friend. What am I talking about? The friend that I was working with you, and she died, and I left that day. That is the only.
Oh yeah, our former coworker Marie.
Yeah, no, that's not what I meant.
That day. I thought you meant because Marie, who you worked with, you're not friends, I guess.
Yeah,
but she died. But yeah, the day that that I told you can go home in the most polite and caring way that I could.
Yeah. And then I lost. We were friends in college, and then I didn't talk to him really after I left college. Not because of any bad thing, just because of drifting. And he died. And it's the same friend, by the way, that told me about both of those deaths. And so I always say to Sarah, I'm like, I don't want Kevin to call. Or she'll be like, have you talked to Kevin lately? And I'll be like, I'll call him. I don't want him to call me. Every time he calls me, someone's dead. Like,
so there's a thing in Jewish culture that you don't call someone after 10:30 p.m. unless someone's dead. Mm-hmm. And there was a time.
It shouldn't be a Jewish culture thing. It should just be a culture thing.
Yeah.
That's like good manners.
But when I was out, Madhavi and I were out with someone who worked it was a sales rep for the company we worked at, and we just got friendly with him, and we were supposed to go to dinner with him, and his flight was delayed. So by the time we went to dinner, it was like 9:30 or something like that. Well, we went to a family-owned, authentic Italian restaurant, Maggiano's. Because he was staying in the hotel across the street from the mall, and we started.
Maggiano's is not bad.
Yeah, and it's a yummy food. And we started talking, and he was we were talking about him having been in Montreal, and he was trying to remember the name of the best deli. There's a famous deli in Montreal, like that smokes their own meats and everything does it there, like as equivalent of Katz's in New York. And we couldn't remember the name. And I said, well, let me call my sister Cheryl because she's from Montreal. She'll know. My adopted sister Cheryl. And so I called Cheryl, and she asked, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I was like, I'm just, and I didn't, it's 10:30 at night. I had no idea what time it was because we went to dinner so late. We were still in the restaurant. So it was dinner time to me.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just going with the guy and we're trying to remember the name of the place that does smoked meat in Montreal. She goes, "You fucking called me for Schwartz's?" I'm like, Schwartz's. She goes, "Don't call me this late unless someone's dead."
Yeah. My mom is like, if my mom calls a lot, especially if she calls actually, my mom's the opposite. If she calls in the middle of the day, I'm like, is everything okay? Because, she's usually at work. And so like she's done that a couple times. Like, my dad has been to the hospital a couple times in the last few years for not life-threatening things, but it's still, she'll call and be like, just so you know.
Yeah.
But like she'll call at like 10:30 in the morning, and I'm like, what the fuck?
You got to use the daycare method. They always tell when they call, they'll tell you, "Hey, it's a daycare. Logan's fine," and then they'll go to tell you what happened. I
do that sometimes. I'll text him like, "Is it cool if I call right now? It's no big deal, but like, just work." Yeah.
So the other day I went to the doctor Friday morning because I've got some kind of skin thing going on, some lesions. And Madhavi's like, "Don't you have skin cancer and die on me? Go to the doctor. You have to go to the doctor." So I went. It turned out it's probably as a result of bacterial infection, some on antibiotics. Not a big deal at all. But like leaving the hospital, leaving the doctor's office, I called Madhavi and said, "I'm fine. Here's what it is." Like I know she was waiting to hear what it is.
Sometimes I will message Sarah with, "Don't worry, everything's fine," and it doesn't work on her.
The but's not a good one. You should say everything's fine and.
Yeah, well, it doesn't work. She'll just be like, "Oh, I stopped reading as soon as I saw it." I'm like, all right, well, you gotta like, it's 3 sentences. Like, give it 3,
Yeah, give it a taste.
Yeah.
But, it was weird, like, calling people the day my dad died. Like, right away, my mom was like, "You have to call Jerry, his best friend, since they were 3 years old. And you have to call Danny, who is a couple of years older than my brother, but his mom, who just passed away, was one of my parents' closest friends, and she wanted her to know right away." And so you had to know that calling them at like, it was 9 a.m, whatever, and Uncle Jerry gets a call from me.
Yeah.
I never called him I shouldn't say in my life. When he lived down the hall from my grandfather, maybe I called him once or twice, but he's in Florida. I'm calling him out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knew right away. And we talked and cried together. And then I called Danny and I'm like, "Hey, Danny, it's Matthew Cravat." He's like, "Oh God, what's wrong?" Didn't know from my mom and my dad, but he knows it's one of them because why would I be calling him? I've never called him ever. He's 10 years older than me. We don't have a relationship,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's.
And then he had to text me about his mom. He texted me saying, "Mom had a stroke last night. Can you tell your mother, we'll be in the hospital with her." And then the next day he texted me that she passed away.
Yeah. So coming from a big Italian family, and when I say big, I mean very, very big, especially
like fat, all of them.
Yes, we're all huge. No, there's my mother and more her aunts than her father, but they all consider a bunch of people family that I don't consider family because I've never met them before. And so my aunt will send out emails of like, "Just so you know, this person died." My mom will call and be like, Did you hear that blah, blah, blah died?" And I'm like, "Well, I heard that she died. I don't know who she is."
I didn't know she was alive.
Yeah. So my mom will call for that sometimes. But the one, and Sarah and I, this is going to be for patrons. I know that my family won't listen, but like I just for emergency purposes only. Patrons
Morgan,
only.
Don't forget to add this one out, Morgan.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to make it back up to Boston for the funeral, but I hear it's going to be a big one.
Here's the thing that makes me think I might be a sociopath. If you're over a certain age and you die, I have no sympathy for you. Like, none whatsoever. I will feel bad for the people around you.
Yeah, I don't have sympathy for anyone who dies. They're good. It's everyone else around them. So.
But like sometimes, like they do all that, like it's one of these like verbal like tics that we all do where they're like, "It's so sad," and it's like, is it though? Like, is it sad that somebody died at 103? Like, sad that they lived to be 103? Like, put me out of my misery before that point. Like, but I don't feel like, like,
Sad for the people who are going to miss them.
yeah,
Especially the great-great-grandchildren who are just getting to know them.
yeah,
I mean, like my dad was, almost 87, but it's sad for
yeah,
Leah more than anything. Leah and Joseph, who they're in their early 20s and they have such a good relationship with him, and now he's
yeah.
gone. And my mom, of course, she's got to be without. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I'm not when I say a certain age, like I even like think 87. Like, I mean, yeah, you're 10 years past the national average or whatever the life expectancy, but like 87 is my grandfather's 90, almost
yeah, if
91,
it
and
wasn't
he's
for the cancer and the
yeah,
complications thereof, if he was in better physical condition, he could have
oh,
beaten that.
yeah, and
If it
they can
wasn't
have
for the pandemic, if he wasn't so out of shape from not having any activity because of the pandemic, it would have been way different.
yeah, but there are times when people are like, yeah, Aprile Schemo was 109 and they died
Years young.
before their time, and I'll be like,
No,
what?
they died at 7 a.m. They usually get up at 8.
Yeah.
I think if Release Skimo has to die on April 1st, my friend, I think it is a moral
I
imperative.
can send that to my mother and my father and my sister. I can't send it to my aunts and uncles because they won't find it funny.
I would.
I'm gonna send it to my parents though.
Your cousins, send it to your cousins.
Yeah, I might.
You know what you do? You know what you do? Create an email and write Aprilla Skimo, passed away, and just write your response to it. Oh my God, I remember the stories she would tell me at her, when we were little and we'd go visit her.
Yeah.
So you didn't send the initial, you reply to the one that was sent out.
Yeah, that's good. That is really good. I'll have to make a burner Gmail for that. Cool.
So you better make up a fake Italian email and put it into the stream.
I bet you. Yeah, there's got to be
Add
Google.it or something. There's got to be like Italian domains. That would be really good. This is gonna be the best April Fool's joke. It's yours. That's why it's the best. But
yeah, I'm a director. That's what I do. Now take it and make art.
Yeah.
This is your prompt. Go make art with it.
Yep. All right. So back to the original.
Thing. Friendship, an amazing blendship. How far would you go for a friend?
I don't know what that quote is from.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a question.
The way you said it sounded like it was. You were going to be like, it's actually
in my head when I was saying it, there's an old song in the '70s. Wouldn't you give a hand to a friend? And that played in my head, so I kind of set it to that cadence because that wouldn't you give a hand to a friend, and so that was playing in my head, so that affected the cadence of it. But it wasn't meant to be a quote; it was just meant to be a question. Friendship equals theoretically sacrifice, willingness to sacrifice and go out of your way.
Yeah,
Alex, I can pick up shit off your stoop.
Yeah, you do.
Helped you move furniture when you moved a block.
Yep. Alex and I, by the way, went to see a movie last month, and based on where I picked the seats, because he thought they were further back than they should be, he asked if I was going to give him a hand during the movie.
Was it Good Morning Vietnam?
No. It's actually, we never talked about it, but it was The Brutalist, and he had made the hand job joke, and then there is the world's saddest hand job in that movie. Like, the single saddest, like a crippled, spoiler alert, a crippled Holocaust survivor who basically, her husband won't fuck her because he thinks she's too frail. She's like jerking him off while like, why don't you want me to fuck you? Why not? And you're like, what the fuck am I watching?
What's that scene in The Boys?
Probably.
In The Boys, it was a Nazi at her deathbed jerking him off. So it was the flip side of the story.
Yeah.
So it was more like you and Alex.
Which one am I in this situation? Am I
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one.
Am I the Nazi or am I the Homelander?
What you giving or receiving?
Oh, good point. I'm the Nazi. Yeah. How far would I go for a friend? I don't know. I probably pretty far. I haven't been asked to do much as a friend. I hope that's not because they know that I won't, or they think that I won't do it.
I don't know. Maybe someone's ready to test you. Maybe you're going to be put on the spot eventually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I did mention earlier in the call that I have to bring some furniture down to the curb for trash pickup tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'll help you if you need it. Is that what are you genuinely asking?
I am.
Okay, then yeah, I'll
You
do
come
that.
help me and come over after we finish recording. Help me and Joseph move sectional couch to the curb.
After tonight, or
Yeah,
yeah, I can do that.
grab some. You can grab something to eat first, so you don't pass out.
Yeah.
Here's a friendship episode for you people. Look at it, live and in action. Friendship in action. Come move furniture so I can throw it away.
It's really cool how Matthew just he was like, I have a topic, the first time in a long time that he has a topic, and he's like, what about friendship? And I'm like, that sounds like a good topic. We could revisit that. And it's all a setup to get me to help him to move furniture.
You would think that. You would think that could be. And you'd be 100% correct. I said to Leah this afternoon,
you fucking idiot.
I said to Leah, it'd be funny if on the podcast I asked Mikey to help me. I asked Mike to help me move the furniture, and he really would have. How does he say no? It's on the podcast. And then later, like an hour later, I was like, what's the topic? Actually, truly, I was thinking about Mikey being in the hospital and wanting to talk about that and what way could we frame that. And then I said, oh my God, that's perfect. We talk about friendship. I end by asking him, what would you do for a friend? And then invite him over to move the furniture with me.
Yep. Same thing I would do for a Klondike bar.
I'd pay about $1.50.
Yeah, I actually love Klondike bars. But...
So here's a quick Klondike bar story for you. My dad's best friend since he was 3, the lawyer who I had to call the day my dad died and tell Uncle Jerry and tell him what happened. One time he came up to our house in the Poconos, and one of the things that it's a stupid small thing, but a thing we loved when I was young going to the Poconos was there was a brand of ice cream that we couldn't get in New York City. There was a dairy in the area, Turkey Hill, which you can get Turkey Hill ice cream here. I think Wegmans carries it, and maybe Food Line, maybe even, but some places carry Turkey Hill, and they're an amazing creamery. We used to get chocolate milk from them, with a store there, and their ice cream. And we're in the grocery store getting their ice cream, and the first on Friday night driving up to our house, and Uncle Jerry grabs a thing of Klondike bars, and my father goes, "Are you fucking crazy? This is the best ice cream you're ever going to have. You pick a flavor, we'll buy a half gallon, whatever flavor you want. You don't need to buy that crap in my house." And Jerry says, "Manny, is there anything you like more than a good steak?" My father goes, there's nothing like more than a steak. He goes, "But don't you want a hamburger sometimes? Even if it's just like from McDonald's? You sometimes just want that hamburger?" My father goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Klondike bars are my hamburgers."
Yeah.
Buy your Klondike bars.
Yeah, I'm not I like the chocolate. I like the shell. It's better than the ice cream itself. Like there's something about that crack in your mouth that.
Yeah, I like crack in my mouth too.
Nice. As soon as I said it, I regretted it.
First time I got crack in my mouth, I regretted it too.
So what would you do for a friendship?
I mean, I do a lot as long as it wasn't at the expense of my family. And I have done. I've sat by Mikey's side in the hospital for days on end. I've done. For friends like my friend Kevin has been in a bind and needed 2 actors to drive out to Myrtle Beach for an afternoon gig. And Mikey and I jumped in a car and drove to took a day off from work, drove to Myrtle Beach, did a gig for him. So I've done lots of stuff like that.
Nice.
You moved your furniture when you moved. Pick up your stuff, your mail when you're not there.
Yeah.
Little things. Those are little things. Those are easy. You do them. Yeah. I mean, I let Alex bask in the glory of my acting skills as I beat him with a rat paperweight.
Yeah. That will be coming out soonish. Hopefully, I got the edit done. I got a couple of tweaks from notes, but hopefully that'll be coming out soon. But yeah, this episode is going to be a nightmare to edit. Just so you know, with the I blow you and all the other stupid shit. But my dogs haven't barked that I'm aware of.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I locked the cats out of the room.
Good, good. All right. Well, how much furniture do you have to move? Like two,
Um,
three things?
four technically. It's the four pieces of the couch sectional. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
three of them aren't too big. It's like the big cat. The couch part is the big part. But
My father-in-law has a couch at his house, and I forget if it was the people that delivered it from the furniture company or when he moved into the house. I'm forgetting which. And they couldn't. No, it was the furniture company. They couldn't get it up the stairs to his lounge because it was so long that they couldn't like get it to like bend around,
pivot,
wrap around and
pivot.
stuff because of the design of his staircase. And they were like, "We can return it if you don't want it." And he goes, "I think my son-in-law could probably do it." And they were like, "He's not going to be able to do it." And he goes, "My son-in-law moved almost all the furniture in his house by himself, which I did. You helped him with like one or two pieces, but like I moved everything else
It
with
was too
cardboard.
bulky for one person to move.
Yeah, yeah. I used cardboard like under the feet of my couch and slid my
Ah,
couch
I
around.
use the carpet runners, the little
Yeah,
runners all the time to slide things through the house
yeah.
that way.
But I like
And
moved
down
the
the
entire.
stairs. It gets them down the
All,
stairs nicely.
I moved almost all the furniture in the house by myself, and so my father-in-law was like bragging, and the guy was like, "He's not gonna get it done." And I go over like the following weekend, and he's like, "What do you think? And do you think we can do it?" And I was like, "What couch? Where is it going?" And he shows me, and I'm like, "Let me see." I
Strap it
take
to my back.
I take the cushions out. Basically, I'm like the armrest is here, the where the cushions go is here, and I just like walk up and I get it in there, and it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
It was a very light couch. I think the problem was is that they were worried they were going to scrape up his house,
and you don't
like
care.
walls. Well, I also just went really slow, and like I told him like
I mean, the turns are hard usually, unless if you can stand the couch up on its, like on the arm to the straight, then you
yeah,
can turn it and make it go up any turn through any
basically
stair.
yeah, yeah.
Like
That's what I did, and they were
so
like
if it's so tight that you can't do that, I can get like, oh, there's like a
yeah,
270-degree turn. You can't even stand it up. Okay, but if you can
he's
stand it, you can pivot it.
He probably has. I don't think I can touch the ceiling, so he probably has like close to 10 foot tall ceilings in his house. So like you can stand anything the fuck up in
Yeah.
10 feet, you know. So yeah, so I'll be. I'm good for moving furniture. I'm old and I'm starting to hurt, but I'm
See,
good at it.
that's what gets me is I'm so much older than I used to be. Like we have couches upstairs, a couch and a love seat upstairs in our bonus room that was
Yeah,
our living room furniture in like a previous house, and I'm like, I don't. There's I had to hire someone to bring that down the stairs if I ever wanted to get rid of it. I can't. Like I was able to carry it up the stairs with either one of my brothers or a friend, like whoever. I don't remember when. 25 years ago, I don't remember.
yeah,
But I was able to get it up the stairs. But there's no way I'll be able. I got the strength to bring it back down again without
yeah.
breaking up my whole house.
Yeah. I've moved like 30 something times in my life, and by the time I was like 10, my dad was like, "Well, I don't want anybody else because nobody else will like my uncles and shit will want to do it their way." So he would just tell me what to do, and if I didn't do it, he'd just yell at me. So like
Find a
so
way.
I was the mover with him, and so we're like a unit, and we could move anything. And now I'm like at the point where I'm like I don't want to like this. I have a pull out right here, and we're thinking about getting rid of it, and I'm just like I don't want to bring it down the stairs.
Yeah, that's like if I have upstairs. I don't know how I'd bring it all downstairs
Yeah,
anymore. Like we tried to donate this couch like crazy, and for some reason nobody wants it. Like we're like it's in fine condition. I guess it's just old, and they don't
yeah.
want them that's that old. Like the future life it has is short enough, I guess, that it's not worth selling to someone.
So here's the other thing. I think that what you're asking me to do tonight is the primary use of Friends as an adult. I genuinely think that, like,
Let me take my trash to the curb.
yeah, like, I mean, like, obviously I enjoy hanging out with you every week on this and stuff, but
Yeah,
like,
but
there is a level to which it does feel like, oh yeah, like the use of Friends, like beyond
I've
the
used you like this once before, not for in the house, but what did I buy? Was it my grill? Maybe when I got my grill, like you came.
was a washing machine or something, wasn't it?
I don't think I never moved to washing machine. I get those delivered. But I think it was.
Dishwasher.
I think it was when I got the new grill. I think it was when I got my new grills when I had you come out to like Lowe's with me or something or Home Depot and
Yeah.
put it in the back of your SUV.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it messed my grill because there's nothing else I would do that myself with.
Yeah.
Like appliances I get delivered and installed by a professional. I'm not screwing something up.
Yeah. All right, let's start wrapping up because
Let's wrap
I
up so
gotta.
you can come help me.
Yeah, and let Sarah know that I'm doing
Yeah.
that. All right.
She'll listen to the pod. She'll find out.
She'll find out a week from now that tonight I helped you.
Once you last week.
All right, go ahead.
No, so those of you who are watching this on video, welcome to the YouTube. Welcome to our channel. If you're not a subscriber to our channel, please subscribe. Not even consider subscribing. Subscribe. It ain't going to hurt you. It don't cost you nothing. Subscribe to the channel. If you really love what you heard, go ahead and hit the notification bell. So next time I ask Mike to help me out with something, you will know because you'll see the video of it because you'll be notified. Watch some more videos. If you watch this video, like the video. You made it this far, you might as well like the video. Make comments below. What's the heaviest thing you asked a friend to move for you? Was it your sister? Could have been your sister. Yeah, that's all I got to say. But I'm going to hit it over to my partner in crime, Mike, to talk about you audiophiles or you're sticking it in your ear holes.
We got to get rid of ear holes. I hate that term.
That's why I say it.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this on your
You know why?
podcast,
Because if you're from Massachusetts, it sounds like asshole. Yeah, ear hole.
That was the worst. That was the worst Boston accent ever.
I was trying to make ear sound like ass. Give me a break.
Yeah. Hole. Anyway, if you are listening to this podcast, I literally never hit the go live button. We're recording, but this was never live. Okay,
this was never live.
Fuck.
Never live.
Anyway,
I blame Alex.
Yeah, if you're listening to this on your podcast player of choice, give us a like and subscribe and follow and a plus sign or whatever. I don't know. Obviously, while tonight's episode was amazing and you're all going to agree to that, you will also realize that, like, if I didn't go live, like, I'm not going to necessarily give you the right instructions, but you know how you use your podcast app. So just, like, show us some love on there. If you would like to show us some love monetarily, you can do that by going to patreon.com/talkingaboutthebigstuff. What was that, Matthew?
That was patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
Patreon.com/talkingaboutthebigstuff is where you can get $1, $3, or $10 versions of this podcast. The $1 version is this podcast, but a little bit early.
It's amazing.
The $3 version is this podcast with a little bit extra sprinkled in.
You hear about the hand jobs.
And the $10 version is, there's a little bit extra at the beginning. There is the video version of the uncensored version.
Sometimes you get to watch it live.
Sometimes you get to watch it live. Most weeks, if you wanted to. And I don't think that they will let me make this mistake.
There's even a free version on Patreon, just if you want Patreon to know you like the show.
Yeah, that will help us just with marketing, and people will see it more. So go ahead and go over to patreon.com/talkaboutthebigstuff and just check it out. Like, you don't even, just check it out and see what is right for you. All right, Matthew, you got any other thoughts, my friend?
I just want to thank you all for sticking in here and talking about the big stuff. That itself is a friendship-worthy sacrifice.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.